All right, folks. I want to talk about Tilray today. And not only because I want to use more mileage on my thumbnail, which my graphics guy made for me, but also because there's stuff to talk about in Tilray. And let's take a look at the chart real briefly here and make sure my account information is covered up. Okay, so Tilray now 156 bid, and it's before a Monday morning. And, you know, a lot of people, as it plummeted towards $100 last week, a lot of people were saying, wow, this is really crazy how overpriced this is. And, you know, the float, I've read that the float is only about 17 million shares in tradable underlying. And the float is going to get bigger as lockout periods end for people in the company and whatnot. However, right now the float is real small, so the thing moves around like crazy. And I have a feeling, I mean, obviously we've been rallying for the last couple of days in Tilray, but, you know, the closer we get to that level of 300, which we're not that close right now, but the closer we get back to that level of 300, the more people realize the insanity of the whole thing. And I think people are going to evaluate this compared with other stocks in the industry. And as the valuation gets ridiculous, more and more ridiculous compared with other stocks in the industry, the will to buy lessens a little bit. So I don't see this getting back above that 300 level that it got to. I don't see it getting close to there. And therefore, I think we're going to see downward movement in this at some point. I can't tell you exactly when, but it's just unsustainable, the levels in this. I mean, this is a goofy stock, and the valuations, it's just getting pushed around because there's just not a lot of shares there. So I believe valuations will come back into line, and I like that level of around $100 for a valuation for this thing. And if you have the fortitude in your gut to do it, I think that it's going to be a great short here at some point. And I know people have been saying that for a long time here, and I'm trying to think about the best way to play it. I think the best way to play it would be to buy some out of the money puts a little ways out. By out, I mean in time. So maybe, well, let's take a look at the option series here. I would say D's. Yeah, definitely by D's. I think that reality is going to set in between now and D's at some point. And so it would be great if we could get this up to like $200 and you could get a deal on the like the 130 puts or something like that. With this stock at $200, those would be pretty inexpensive. I mean, if you look out here in D's, if stuff looks really expensive to you, then, you know, better to buy a vertical. So maybe buy the 120, 100 vertical. If I'm looking at it right now, what I'm looking at now is the screen centered around that one. I think it's actually centered around 140. Yeah, 143. So this is going to be different prices immediately off the open. But, you know, I'm just looking at like the 120, 100 put vertical in December. Worth $10 here, but once again, the price will be a lot lower if we open up around the 156 range. But looking at something like that, some way to get short deltas without having short. The thing is to be able to maintain that short delta over a little period of time, because we don't know when we're going to get a pullback in here. We know, I feel pretty confident we are going to get a pullback in here to the downside again. We don't know exactly when it's going to happen, so we don't want to buy expensive puts and have them rot on the vine only for that down move to come right after those puts have expired. So creative ways to do this. Another way would be to sell call spreads, maybe out of the money call spreads, but once again, you know, this is very thin, and it could continue to rip to the upside. It could rip through 200. It's possible, and you don't want to get stuck in a situation where you're right, but you're right too late, and things just, you know, they get out of hand for you. And so by the time it comes in that you were right, it's too late, and you've lost a bunch of money. So it's like strategic be strategic in your thinking and give yourself time if you're going to play this one to the short side. That's my idea on this one. You know, my position was short the strangle. I was short like the 85 120 strangle, and it ripped through my strikes to the upside, and I lost a little money on it, which was unfortunate. Like all of last week, I was hanging out and things were working out until Thursday when it just ripped through my upper strikes. And I just didn't want to play that game anymore. Like I said, this could continue going to the upside for some time, but eventually reality is going to set in, and people get excited about a singular issue, but they lose interest pretty quickly, and then this will come back to reality, I would believe. And like I said, I like the idea of around $100 for this one once reality sets back in, and so. Another idea would be to maybe buy and once again, you don't want to get caught too much long Vega here, but buy some sort of calendar centered around the 100 strike, so that if and when things go back to that strike, you're in a good situation. So, for example, if I were to buy the DEES 100 put here and sell maybe, let's see, the ACH 100 put. No, once again, you're long. You're getting long some Vega here. So if I were to do that trade 10 times, all right, that would cost me about 13 grand, and my delta would be short 55 delta, collecting 146 a day, and it's centered around the 100 strike. So if things go back to the 100 strike, then you're kind of sitting perfect. And I don't see volatility going lower with this stock cutting in price. So that's something you might want to think about. But yeah, it's really easy to get run over here, and directionally, it can continue moving in one direction for a longer time than you can remain, having it go against you. So it's a tricky issue here, but it's a game that a lot of people are interested in playing, and if you're interested in playing it, then my advice would be to be careful. But I don't see this going back to 300, and the closer it gets to 300, the more downside there is to play with, as far as I'm concerned. So that's my thoughts on Tilray for the day. Good luck trading it, and I don't know if this helps you or not, but I hope it does. Thanks for watching. Bye.